Hey everyone, James Lynch here doing a quick reaction video to the news that Dana White at the UFC 315 press conference confirmed that if Belal Muhammad defeats Jack Della Maddalena on Saturday in his welterweight title fight, that Islam Makhachev will fight Ilia Topuria. So we kind of were hearing this, right? That Islam was waiting to see what happens between the welterweight title fight. And we also know that Khabib Nurmagomedov does not want Islam to fight Belal Muhammad. I think Islam probably would, but yeah, you can see there in MMA Fighting, transcribing everything. Dana White confirms Ilia Topuria expected to fight Islam or Charles Oliveira at UFC 317. So basically, if Belal Muhammad wins his fight this weekend, it will be Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. So I think everyone out there probably cheering for Belal Muhammad this weekend. If Jack Della Maddalena wins, then Islam would move up and it would be Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria for the vacant title at 155. So Islam would have to vacate if he goes up here. We'll get the quote here just to read it. It says, Dana White saying, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts right now. So Mike Braun asked Dana White, what's going on with the title fight this weekend as far as, UFC 317 in relation to 317, said, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts right now, and that's pretty accurate. He did not elaborate, so it remains to be seen if a fight between Topuria and Oliveira would be for an interim or vacant title. I think it would be vacant because my understanding is they won't really let fighters move up and keep their belts. That's what happened with Topuria. I know the UFC claims that Topuria was the one that asked to vacate. I doubt. I mean, what fighter's going to want to move up and not keep their belt, right? So there's that as well. But yeah, so, and then, obviously Ariel Helwani confirming this as well with his latest tweet here, basically saying what I just said, probably in a lot better of a way. But Ariel here, if you see, says, where is it right here? It's coming up. He says, Dana White confirms at the 315 presser, the winner of Belal JDM will determine who fights Topuria. If Belal wins, Islam Topuria. If JDM wins, Topuria Charles. So here's the only thing I'll say about this. Like, obviously, I've said this from the beginning. I think Islam and Ilia Topuria is the biggest fight the UFC can put on right now outside of John Jones and Tom Aspinall. So good that the UFC is going in that direction. If Islam ends up fighting Jack Della Maddalena and, we don't get this fight ever, because that could possibly happen. What if Topuria loses to Oliveira? Like, that's a possibility. I think that's a big miss by the UFC. And I also wonder, this fight's June 28th. So yes, we've got, a couple days before UFC 315 is going to happen. I kind of feel for the fighters here. Like, if you're Oliveira, you now have to fight Topuria on less than a month's notice. Well, sorry, I should say more than a month's notice, as far as the matchup goes. So that's not ideal for him. For Topuria, it's like, if you're training for one or the other, if you're training for Islam or you're training for, Charles Oliveira, those are two completely different fighters. Like, that's not really ideal for one of your biggest superstars in the UFC. So that seems a little bit odd. And then even for Islam, training for, obviously if he fights Jack, it's going to be later on, but if Islam has to fight Topuria, that's not a ton of notice to, he could be training for someone that it doesn't end up happening. I guess what I'm getting at here is this is kind of a weird situation. And I also feel for people who are buying tickets to UFC 317, you don't know what the main event's going to be. If you're an Ilia Topuria if you're a Islam Makhachev fan, you probably want to go to UFC 317 and see that fight. If you're not an Islam Makhachev fan, then maybe you don't. I'm just thinking for the UFC, they couldn't have played this worse, in my opinion, because, you're sort of waiting to see what happens. And if it is Charles and Ilia, that's still a good fight. But I think Islam and Ilia is a way, way bigger matchup here. So, I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for Belal Muhammad to win this weekend, but he might not. Now, at the time of recording this, I think the odds still have Belal as about a 2-1 favorite. I think Belal probably will win, but you never know. Jack Della Maddalena, he's got some serious power. He's knocked out a lot of guys. So yeah, Belal just under a 2-1 favorite here. So yeah. I don't think we've had this before, at least not recently, where we're waiting on one fight to determine what happens to the next one in multiple divisions. That to me is a little bit interesting. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I think a lot of people are going to be cheering for Belal Muhammad to get the win. Because I think that's the fight everyone wants to see is Islam and Topuria. And I just don't think Charles Oliveira has that same, it's still a good fight, but I still don't think that fight is anywhere near as big as what Oliveira or with Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria would be. So yeah, there you have it. Dana White confirming we're going to be all waiting Saturday. Maybe this is just a ploy to get people to watch UFC 315. It's not one of the strongest pay-per-views that they've had. And, I don't know what the viewership's going to be like. I know the ticket sales aren't exactly going so well. So, maybe this is just Dana's way to get people to watch the main event and kind of see what happens. So I don't know. I just think this is kind of tough on the fighters that may have to especially Topuria, you could be preparing for a different opponent. I understand injuries happen and opponent switch ups happen all the time. That happens, but this is something the UFC could have controlled. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see how this all unfolds. But there you heard it. Dana White confirming that it's going to either be Islam Makhachev against Ilia Topuria or Ilia Topuria against Charles Oliveira, one or the other. So we'll have to see what happens. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I assume most of you want to see Islam and Ilia. Any of you guys want to see Islam and Jack Della Maddalena? Let me know in the comments which way you're leaning and how you think the UFC's handled this. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.